Good morning, dear friends. It's such a joy to be here so we can unite in our thoughts with Jesus and welcome everyone to join us in this morning Conscious Living Spirits Group United again. And we like to start our morning welcoming everyone that is coming for the first time. So we start every Sunday with a thinking that when we are together and when we pray together, we together. So we are going to start our morning with the reading of the book Happy Life. If you want to join along, is in the page 63 and goes, bad thoughts poison the soul. They attract pessimism along with bad and disturbed spirits. Lock your mind on positive, enlightening ideas and higher goals, from which well-being and the zest for life derive. What you persistently think about will materialize soon or later. Events are first shaped in the mind and later manifested in the physical body. Focus on the good and bathe in the light of love. That's the invitation, the thought of this morning. Let's bathe in the light and the love. So with that, we're going to start our morning with a prayer, and we invite everyone to join us, elevate our thoughts, so we can find the united and fraternal light that Jesus offered to all of us. So we pray, Jesus, be with us this morning, helping us to keep our focus on the positive ideas. Help each of us to calm our heart so we can be present with the lessons that we are going to hear today, that is going to help us elevate our ideas, our thoughts, our vibration, so we can be surrounded of the good spirits that prepare this wonderful energy for us to learn, to pray, to progress. We particularly pray for our dear friend Stella, so she can be feeling this peace energy that we are sending her. So we ask her mentors to get closer to her so she can be inspired, to be calm, to send her to share with us her learning, her thoughts, her reflections, that's going to support us to understand a little bit better our lovely doctrine that help us to keep connected with you. So be with us, and may the light of Jesus be surround us in this room, surround our home, surround our spiritual family. Thank you, and so be it. Dear friends, today we have a pleasure to have our friend Stella that is going to come and share her thoughts with us. We want to thank you so much that you can join our spiritual family here, okay? So we say good morning to Stella and to everyone who just arrived, and say good morning to us, so all the friends are watching. So the words with you. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I am super glad to be here. Thank you so much for this opportunity. It's really a pleasure for me to share my study with you all. It's always much more productive for me, and I hope it is for you. Because every time I stop and start studying on a subject, it brings so much resources to me. That's the beauty of studying, preparing this study, and being here and sharing this study with you all is just a matter of making sure I got something out of it. And I hope I did. I'm still learning, and it's going to be really great to share this time with you all. I like to start reading something for you that I got from the Conscious Living's website. Is the mission statement, which is beautiful to me was super inspiring. And I want to read this because there's a lot to do with this study, Choose Love Over Suffering. Right? So I'm going to read to you what it touched me. It says that this study is centered on the teachings of the gospel as exemplified by Jesus and of Spiritism as codified by Allan Kardec. The student learns that life is a journey of enlightenment, and the present moment is the outcome of past choices as much as the future will be the result of today's choices. Self-knowledge, awareness, is a key tenet for the transformation of one's world and reality. It promotes change by shifting the perception that one is a victim of life to one with the power to be content and at peace regardless of external circumstances. Self-awareness leads to a proactive journey filled with conscious choices aligned with divine love. Really, it's so beautiful. So beautiful. What a beautiful mission statement. Makes me want to be a student. Really, just reading this makes me want to be part of this. And so with that, I think that's a lot that's related to what I wanted to say. And I want to start beginning talking about the meaning of choice on the dictionary. So choice is an act of selecting or making a decision when faced with two or more possibilities, meaning we always have choices. We have more than one possibility, right? So like in the mission statement, choice is a proactive journey filled with conscious choices aligned with divine love. There's a purpose why we should be proactive, the goal of being proactive, right? So every time we aligned with this divine love, we'll be making good choices. God is love, and we all have this love inside of us, even when we think we don't have it. It is already in us, right? So I like also to say that I like to bring some quotes, and this time I'm going to bring the quote from Chico of his book called Seara dos Médiuns. And this is like, thinking about what is our ability to make these choices. So Chico tells us that this, in quote, God knows that all of us is incarnated and disincarnated on earth are spirits that are not perfect, but God has granted us the work for the good which we can develop according to our will so that our lives can be perfected. God created us knowing that we can get perfected. We can do better, be better, get this transformation. He believes that in each one of us, we have this seed that can become this beautiful, beautiful tree. He sees all the way to the end. Even though when we doubt ourselves, God knows inside of us there is this seed of transformation that we can be perfected, right? So even though we're not now, we'll be accordingly to God's faith in us. That's great. Somebody really believes we can do it, even when we doubt. So we may shorten or prolong the suffering, right? Our happiness or unhappiness depends on this willingness to do good, be aligned with this divine love. So let's talk about this free will, right? This opportunity to choose that we have. Free will, it was acquired after we conquered the reasoning, right? First became a reasoning, and then as we progress, we get more opportunities to use our free will. Of course, we can't grant a child that doesn't know how to drive, a big car, fancy car. He has to have time for the kid to go and learn how to drive so you can entrust her with the car. The same with us. Our free will is based on our progress, right? As we progress as spirits, we're going to make better choices because we are learning how to make better choices. So without this free will, if you don't have free will, it's like we'll be responsible machines, for example. We could not be blamed by mistakes, right? But then we're never going to be have the merits for achievements. That's two sides of it. We'd be like robots. And this is not good. We have to have the ability to choose freely. So being free also comes with the responsibility to sow and reap. Like every time we do that, when we understand, like if we were struggling today, it's because maybe in the past we misused this free will. So now we have to face the consequences of these bad choices, which was aligned with our level of maturity and ability to choose better. So it's okay if we make mistakes, if we made mistakes, or we will make mistakes in the future. We are humans and we are learning as we grow, as we walk. So this action and reaction is not a punishment. It's just like consequences, and every act, you have to be responsible to really be accountable for what you choose, even though it was not the best choice. But as part of it, the growing is the pain, is like the growing pain, right? That everybody goes through. Like if I knew better, I would do better. So let's talk a little bit about the difference between suffering and pain. I think it's very important to really talk about this difference, especially because sometimes it's really, we know we can go through pain, but then suffering is something that is more psychological. So when we use the word suffering, sometimes it's more in a sense of the physical pain, but we misunderstand a little bit. We say we are suffering, but then we will try to say the pain, because pain is physical. Suffering is more like on a psychological way, how we feel about the pain. Pain is very physical, but suffering, it has to do with your emotions, how you perceiving that pain. So, for example, pain it can be very short, like when you have like a needle stick. It's like a short pain. You may suffer because of that. I know a friend of mine is super afraid of needles. So it's really a suffering for him when he needs to go and do blood exams because he's afraid of the needle. But then it's not just the pain we feel. He suffers for that. So that's different. That's like a temporary pain. And then you have more longer pains, like when you really have an injury or you lost someone. On the Spirit's book, there's a question, 933. It's very interesting. And I think we ask this question quite a lot. The question is, if people are usually the artisans of their material suffering, are they also the artisans of their mental sufferings? The answer is really interesting. The spirits tell us that even more so, because their material suffering are sometimes independent of their will. So sometimes, of course, we know, especially on these natural disasters, there's something we have no control. The pain is there. It's part of life. We are going to go through pains, even though we have no will to go through that pain. That's really something. But the spirits continue that while pride, frustration, ambition, envy, jealousy, in short, all the passions comprise the torments of the soul. So that's the suffering we are talking about when something happens that we are participating on this suffering, right? There's something that we did that is going to reflect the consequences of what we did is going to come, and we have to deal with these consequences, right? So how Spiritism sees the suffering. And the Spiritism talk about a lot of our own responsibility. It's very common when we really hear this question, why, if God is so good, why he let us suffer? Why you have to go through suffering to learn something? Like we are like out of this process of suffering, we tend to forget how we are part of the suffering sometimes. But it's so much better and easier to just blame God and say, oh, he let me suffer, now I feel this way because God is punishing me, or any kind of excuses we use to justify why God is so far from our suffering. And I heard one time this lady telling her story, that she was so mad at God because she lost her son. And so she had this conversation. I believe we all have, like, we, talk to God and say, how dare you, or question him so hard. And he's so in a lovely way, he answers us. It's a little nudge, like with some bit of music, a bird, or any signal that shows us that he's listening, even in our anger when we talk to him. So she tells him why that happened and where was God when her son was killed. And she said that that's her quotation, that she felt like God was answering her, that God was in the same place when his son was killed, referring to Jesus Christ. And then she said, yes, God never leaves us. It's not because there's great suffering happening that we are apart from God. And I really like the way the Spiritism sees this, as we are responsible, we are part of the suffering, because when we find out that we are part of the problem, we also find out that we are part of the solution. I also play about that when we are just in pain and you go to these Spiritism centers, or we go to, especially for the studies, and you want to tell about what's happening to you, why you're suffering so much. It's like people give to you like a mirror, and you find out, a lot of reasons of what you're going through. It's there in the mirror, which is yourself. And it could be very hard. It's really hard when you go like, I don't believe that's all this happening. I have something to do with this, because I don't want to go through this pain. God, can you love somebody else? Can you find somebody else to love? Can you give somebody else this love? But understanding that with this shocking news that you are, really the mainly cause of these afflictions, you have also the opportunity to learn. And like the mission statement says, you can self-acknowledge and get this transformation really on yourself, and then you get better and you progress and you just get more close to this divine love and way of life. So the reasons, like we know we have these imperfections, right, is the root of our spiritual delay, because of our imperfections. And God gives us this opportunity to build our own progress. He gives us chances to do it. Sometimes it's not easy to go through that, right? Why? I have to learn this way. I don't think you have an answer. We can't really say like 100% why. This is really something that we may not have the answer, but we have to understand that there's a meaning behind that. And that's the process. That's how you're going to find out why. You're going to get some answers when you're really searching in that way, knowing that you are part of that. It's not like just God is letting people suffer for no reason. So first, let's also remember that we are here in planet Earth, right? Because we have these imperfections, and planet Earth has its own imperfections. So we are here for a reason. We just didn't come to this planet by mistake. We all live what we're living for a reason. There's nothing, I don't think everything is a coincidence, really. We are going through these difficult times with a lot of things happening, all the conflicts and all the disease and everything, because we are here for a purpose. We need to learn this way. That's the plan. That's what we have for now. Let's just live here for now. So we really don't know how to use properly this freedom of choice, right? This free will that we are talking about. And even though we don't know really how to make good choices, really God grants us like His mercy, right? He always gives us this opportunity to redeem us. So for us, we can rewrite this our story and make it better next time. We always like to people give us a second chance, right? If you really, if you like, for example, if you have your company and you have 2 employees, and then you decide, two of them, they made bad mistakes. One of them you fired, and the other one you keep it and you give another chance. You being fired, you wanted to have a second chance. You can say, hey, please don't really let me go. I promise you, I'll do better, right? I can do better. Now I know, and give me a chance. So we like people to give us a chance. Right? If you're speeding and the God stops you, you are hoping that the cop will give you like a second chance, right? Please, not now. And sometimes they do. They have mercy. You want, the cop to have mercy on you on that time. So why not God? It's so much bigger than us humans. We can't compare the humanity with God, but just to compare how much we seek these opportunities to do better. And that's why, even though we have these imperfections, God knows, and He gives us chances to do it better next time. And so this question we always ask about why the suffering, why we do suffer, why God let. I was reading in the Gospel according to the Spiritism on chapter 5, a very interesting text. And I want to read to you so I don't misquote anything. And it's so powerful. It gives us so much perspective. The good, there's a chance for you to change. And at the same time, the responsibility that, oh my gosh, it's on me. I have to do something about this. So listen to this. Study your own conscience closely. Go back, step by step, to the origins of each misfortune which is torturing us. We will be able to say, if I had done or not done such and such a thing, I will not be where I am now. That's the big question. When then is responsible for man's affliction, if not man himself? So then, in a great number of cases, he is the cause of his own misfortunes. But instead of recognizing this fact, he finds it easier and less humiliating to his vanity to accuse his bad luck, providence, or even his unlucky star, when no actual facts, his unlucky star is his own carelessness. The suffering which follows is always a warning that wrong has been done. This offers him experience and makes him feel the difference between right and wrong, good and bad, so that in the future, this source of bitterness may be avoided. If man were to be confident of immunity, he would only delay his own progress and therefore his future happiness. That's what I'm talking about, the little mirror, here, listen, it's not only God, you are part of this. You've been doing things that you say, ouch, and you know how ouch it is, especially if you eat a lot and you regret right after because you overdid, So why you can say, oh, I have this pain now, but why, God, I'm suffering once, you shouldn't do what you've been doing. Let's change the view of we are part of this. So we need to understand this, the cause of the suffering, and to learn how to use this cause as a lesson, a precious lesson, how we can get the suffering and make something meaningful. Because that's to me, that's what matters, not finding who's the person behind the suffering, but really, what do you do when you're going through something? And when we study Allan Kardec, we learn that our suffering originates from acts that we committed, right, in this life or in the past life. Because sometimes you say, but I don't understand why. I mean, I've been so good. I've been doing this, dot, and I don't get it. Why I have to go through this? I've been so good, right, all my life. I don't remember why I need to go through this. And also, something that we need to remember, we're not doing, eye for an eye. We just know that whatever we did, God is a God of mercy. He's not going to let us go through the same pain, like, eye for an eye. No, He's going to make an opportunity for us to just repair. It's not a punishment. It's just an opportunity to do better again. That's what it is. That's why it's so important when we study the Spiritism, understanding this. The Spirits tell us this, that we can learn what are these causes, right? We have more resources to go, okay, maybe maybe I didn't do well, maybe it's a time. And then with that, if we shift our minds, give us the chance to say, hey, you know what? Maybe that's true. Maybe what I'm going through now, instead of just asking why I'm going through this, but say, hey, now I'm going to do different this time. I'm going to learn because I don't want to go through this again. And we don't need to go to past lives to think this way. How many times we say this in this life because we suffered so much, which with your relationships or your job or your boss, you say that's it. I've been going through this over and over, and now it's time for me to do something and change it. So that to me is very logical how this works, how we can really relate to this, especially in past lives, to the reincarnation. If you can think on in this life already, you can think it makes a lot of sense that you go back in other lives, and why you're going through this now, just to learn something, to make yourself better. So when we are working ourselves, also to have to remember, you have to work ourselves morally and intellectually. Right? That's why the learning is so important. If you go back to the mission statement again, we read self-knowledge awareness is the key tenet for the transformation. That's what it is. Every time we are looking to ourselves, we are looking to transformation because I'm just tired. I don't want to go through this pain again. I don't want to go through this suffering again. I have the pain, but now I'm not going to suffer because now I have all this knowledge about myself. I know who I am. I have resources. I'll do better. So I love this quote from Albert Einstein. And every time I quote Einstein, I feel a little nervous, as I never know if it was Einstein who said or somebody posted he said. Even if he didn't, he should have said, because it makes sense that he'll say something like this. But this one, I think it's from Einstein. He said that we can't solve today's problems with the same thinking that created those problems, right? This is always an invitation to a proactive journey, as we read before. So this is beautiful, really, an invitation to see, of course, if you don't want to go through this that you're going through right now, you have to do the way you've been doing because you know the results already. That's a process of awakening to do better. So the question is not like if we are going to have trials in life, right? But how we will respond to them. It's like that's no way. We're here, planet Earth. We have these imperfections, so it's a matter of how we will respond. And always, I think, and I heard this once, and I think it's interesting, as we talk to people, you can always say that some people are just living from a storm, right? Something really bad happened, and they can tell you, oh, I've been through this, and then all the suffering, all the pain, but it's done, it's over, I'm better now, I'm healed, I'm stronger, I got this divorce, and I'm better now, I have another person, I made another family. But then you have people that are going through the storm. You talk to them, we going through the storms. So you tell, oh, let me tell you, I'm going through right now. And then the other group that is just heading to the storm. Not to scare anybody, but it's really part of the process of living here. We always going through, and I'm talking about storm, could be a little rain. I'm not talking about, and it doesn't need to be big. Remember, it's going to be, the pain will be there for sure, but the process of suffering is, the other day I was talking to my husband about this, like, what does it take for you to really be awakened? Imagine a person that is never seen the ocean before, and that person goes to the beach and stands in front of the ocean, and she's just such an awe about how powerful, how beautiful is the ocean, and with only the touching of the waves on her feet, it just transforms her. She gets the awe of this creation. But some people, they go to the beach. They have to go to swim to the ocean. This big wave comes and turns you upside down, like this washing machine. And then you leave saying, oh my gosh, I didn't know the ocean is so powerful. It took me this just big wave to just get me out out of my feet and get everything upside down for me to realize this. So remember, it's always the perception, how we also see, based on our progress as a spirit. So suffering, I think, requires that the right response, right? In this way, you can be aligned with God's purpose for us. This view that God has that will be perfected. We have this journey in front of us. That's how I see it. That's why I think we should have this response towards to suffering. And there is no simple, I think there's no simple answer really related to suffering, because the pain sometimes is too great to really treat lightly sometimes, right? It's easy when you're talking about pain or suffering, especially on suffering, when you are not going through it. It's different when you're really suffering. Then if somebody tells you all this, it's challenging. It's challenging. We're not taking lightly that, oh no, you shouldn't be suffering. I think we should be suffering. It's part of the humanity. It's part of our emotions. It's related to our emotions. We want to have emotions. How are you not going to be suffering when you're really going through something painful, or a loss, or injury, permanent injury? I'm just talking about how we can try to see beyond that. Even when we have this little frame of maybe I want to do something to change this pain. I can't bear anymore. Help me, somebody help me. That's what I'm talking about. These chances we can have of recovering from that big suffering. So it's not a matter of saying, hey, it's easy to talk about suffering because you are not going what I'm going through right now. We should respect that. We should really be very empathic about it and try to be there for that person. So that's why I want to make it clear, I'm not taking suffering lightly or saying we should not be suffering at all. It's part of being a human. It's part of our growing process, and it's okay. It's just a way of trying to find something that we can do as we learn how to use free will better, how we grow. We can't be so harsh on us to say, hey, I can't do this now. Remember, it's a process. We are under construction. It's going to be a day at a time, or it's going to be a year at a time, or one reincarnation at a time. We have a lot of time to learn how to do this. Now it's what we have, but that's why I want to really state that I'm not taking suffering lightly, and in a really respectful way of what people are going through right now. There's a lot of suffering, and there's a reason for that suffering. We're not looking for, oh, you're suffering because you deserve. It's not like this. That's why we need to study to understand. It's not a punishment, and it's really hard to understand this as an opportunity of learning when you're suffering. How, when you are in your, I would say, your dentist chair, to think that pain is for good, right? That you're doing something for your health. That's why I want to really say this, to understand and respect this. So in this process of self-knowledge, this awareness of us, a few questions we should ask, and we always ask when we are going through this process of self-knowledge. So the question is why me? Why now? What is God doing? God, this is love? That's what you do? That's what means being your sons and daughters? No, I don't want to be. I don't want nothing to do with you, if this is how it is right now. So really, suffering is very hard. It's never easy, like I said. Regardless of what we know on how hard we apply these principles, it's going to hurt. Even though you know it's going to hurt. So we start asking, what are these bends in the road, right, that God puts in the path of life? This part of the self-knowledge, why? Why it's happening here? So in the design of God's way, it's something that God makes us think, or life makes us think, why this is happening. It's an awakening already. It's how God uses to get our attention sometimes. Hey, come back. You're going the wrong direction. Come back, reroute. This is not the way. It's hurting. It's going to hurt more if you keep doing. If you keep doing what you're doing, it's going to get worse. So that's a way also for us to wake, right? To really be in his design for us. So I like to think now about these conscious choices, talking about how we have to make these conscious choices. And with this reasoning and then progressing to this free will that we are just learning how to go through this life, I like to say that we should stop and assess three things. So number one, we need to stop and assess where we are heading. Okay, where we're going. What is the what I want to do with my life? Really, it's a question like what I'm doing with myself, what I'm becoming. Am I becoming a better person? What I wanted to do with this? Where this is gonna lead me? Why I should do this? This very powerful questions we should ask in this process. So I bring here, I'm going to read to you this little passage of my favorite story. Okay, I love Alice in Wonderland. I really love it. It's one of my favorite child's book. So everybody says that the passage that Alice talks to the cat about when she's lost. And this little dialogue is very precise to what they say. So let's quote Alice. She asks the cat, "Would you tell me, please, which way I ought to go from here?" The cat says, "That depends a good deal on where you want to get to." So Alice replies, "I don't much care where." The cat says, "Then it doesn't matter which way you go." And then Alice says, "So as long as I get somewhere, right?" She says. The cat says, "Well, you're sure to do that," says the cat, "if you only walk long enough." So we walk long enough sometimes to go what? Somewhere. If you don't have this vision of where I'm going, that's us, Alice, talking to the cat. Like really, the question. And who are you asking the question? In the story, this cat's kind of really, do you trust that cat? You only see the smile, who knows the story? But the fact is really, where are we heading? Do you care where we're heading? So that's the first assessment we should do. What we're doing with our lives, what I'm doing with my life, where I'm going, where I'm heading. Am I heading somewhere? Why this life is purpose? And then number two, what choices are we daily making? Are they conscious choices? I'm thinking about really the choices I'm making. Are they really, really based on my knowledge of I'm choosing better, or I'm just thinking, choosing without thinking about consequences, about anything else? And to do that question, to really evaluate how I'm doing these conscious choices, I think we should take three actions. First of all is to will, really to will, like converging, getting all your energy towards this goal, to this aim, like get really act in your will, practice in your will, develop this willpower, and direct it. This is what I want to go, I want to do. Then second is to know really, because without study, without the acquaintance of this, how this life works, like the laws and the thought and this will can lose themselves. And that's why when we study here, when we study Spiritism, it's so valuable how we can get all these resources to really understand these laws and the cause and effect, how that explains and makes our life, all of them make our lives better, makes us better people, wanting to get better. And number three, to love, really, to love. And the order really doesn't really matter here. You should do to love first, but grasp the idea of really what means to will, to know, and to love, and make it as a daily choice you make. So without love, there's our will and science will be so incomplete, right? Like there will be no fruits. So love illuminates them, increase the resources. Love is so important to be involved in your daily choices. So it's not like the question of love, like contemplating love, oh yeah, so love. No, it's finding the action itself to spread goodness in the world on purpose. Be mindful that you want to will, to know, and to love on a daily basis. And as just beautiful to know that the amount of the love that we accumulate in us, you can measure this love with the distance we traveled on the road to God. It's like how we are walking towards to His love. It's how much we have in us, and also knowing that when we suffer, that's the spirits tell us that when we suffer, it's because we are going in another direction, far from the love of God. Like the Wi-Fi, really, you're losing Wi-Fi signal because you are so far from the tower. Is the same concept here when we suffer, because we are just going so on the opposite, God's love. Then another question is, what choices are we making? Really, sorry, I have to go number 3. So what results these choices produce? What are the fruit of these choices, right? If you have this purpose of following to do good, really willing to do good, despite of imperfections, we know we are already imperfect spirits. So this effort will be rewarded. I really believe that sooner or later, because there's no way that what goes around comes around. So if you're sowing, you're gonna reap. Right? So this happiness, if you put all this happiness in the world's happiness, then it's a problem. That's when we see more really future afflictions, because we are just really focused on the world's happiness, which we know it's not permanent. It's temporary, and it's really not really easy to make all the decisions. The pressure here in planet Earth is so big for you to take the right decisions. But we need to remember, it's not about here, right? It has to be more than just planet Earth. So why not let's choose love? And I wanted to read this passage from the Gospel of Paul on 1 Corinthians chapter 13. He says that love bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. It's beautiful. That's why we choose love, because it's super powerful, right? And so if you think about all the testimonies of these people that are lived by this kind and really humble souls here on the planet Earth, and they still are here. A lot of spirits are here, and they are testimonies. They patiently and so selflessly accept the temporary pain. We have many names we can say: Mother Teresa, Gandhi, Mandela, Chico Xavier, Divaldo Franco. That besides the pain, they believe that love bears all things. They decided to really do something with love to the humanity. So these also are spirits that are reincarnated here, also in conditions that are to overcome moral ills, right? Without letting themselves to be put down by excessive sadness. They are convinced that in a short time they will free themselves from the material and moral problems that affect them, continuing the journey of light for the benefit of man. The love believes all things. They believe that love can cure everything. And also these people manage to overcome their excessive pain. They build an atmosphere like of peace and benevolence, becoming a unique model for us. And not only I'm not talking about big names. We know people in our lives that, they go through such pain and still they give so much. That love hopes all things. I knew this lady, she was very ill for many years, a very dear friend of mine, and she was in bed for many years. But every time I called her, she will inspire me so much, never complaining, just give me some life and positive thinking. So we know we should search more for these people, because that's what love is. And these people also, they seek comfort. You can tell they seek comfort and prayer, and they have faith. They also, because of this, they receive, I believe, they receive extra doses of good cheer, right, from our friends, spirits friends, then they help them, they help us with our challenges, giving us like courage and helping us to really have our head high up and just without exaggerating our fears. That's how love does to us. That's the help we have when we are really meditating and living in love. So I really believe that God, it is the greatest antidote for suffering, really. And to help me with that, I'll bring two friends, Leon Denis and Joanna de Angelis. I found this definition of love that they gave us so beautiful. So Leon Denis says that love is the principle of life universal. And by its power, the soul feels itself closely united to divinity, the ardent center of all life and love. God is love. It was through love that He created beings to associate them with His joys and His works. And love constantly renews itself and at the same time enriches those who give and those who receive. That's beautiful. If love renews itself, we're always going to be giving love, receiving love, and be more focused on this love and having more power to really overcome the pain, the inevitable pain we go through. And then Joanna de Angelis says that life is impossible without dynamic love, which induces constructive action responsible for progress. Talking about actions. She says that the good cancels evil and its consequences, and actions make suffering cease. Silence in the face of offenses, forgiveness of aggressions, and forgetting of evil. That's the power of love. But now think of Jesus of Nazareth, right? The Christ. He is our model and guide of humanity. He's our teacher and friend all times. And he reminded us, right? He says that let us love God above all things and our neighbor as ourselves. I think he summarized with his examples all these guidelines that prevent the presence of suffering or even its releases through love. That's what his main example here is love. He loved. All he did was love. So this absence of love, we know this, when we can't really love God and love our neighbors, all this lack of really, this absence of love can produce dissatisfaction, we know, with imbalance, diseases, all the things that they are suffering factors. We need to choose love to be aligned with this divine love. So on the other hand, when love appears, hate, jealousy, betrayal, all this, pride, they all go away. They give space for brotherhood, trust, kindness. The pain also, when you go through pain and suffering, it's another way to develop in us this empathy and compassion. So when you suffer and you see another person suffering, you know what that person is going through. So that's also when you have to go through this pain and suffering, it's going to change you. You can't go another day. When you face some pain, you're not the same person. And then with that pain, a lot of people wake and want to help people. They go through the same pain. How many institutions, how many organizations are born because they are created by the family of people who've been through suffering. That's what they decided to do. So it's always about what you do, what you have, right? And I read this book from Viktor Frankl. It's called Man's Searching for Meaning. That's the name of the book, Man's Searching for Meaning. It's a wonderful book. He wrote this book after he's been to this camp, right? He was during the war, he was in this concentration camp, and he was already a psychologist. So his view of being in this concentration camp, it was a little different. He wanted to write about what people did with the suffering, with many suffering he witnessed at that camp. And that's the book. So that's why the book is so beautiful, because that's exactly what he was trying to show even though these people went through horrible pain and suffering, some people were able to do different, choose differently. He tells the story about people that gave up on their meal, only meal, to other people because they knew the other person was needing. So just the purpose of saving that meal kept these people alive and going. They found purpose during the pain, the suffering. And he says, his quote, he says that even in the most difficult circumstances, you can choose how to deal with situations. That's another way of us to going through suffering when we find this specifically tools and resources. And that's why I believe that Spiritism gives us a lot of the support and resources to go in these difficult circumstances. And we have the chance to deal and choose, make these better choices. He quotes in his book also a Nietzsche phrase that you might have heard before. Those who have a why to live can bear with almost any how, really. When we have this purpose, we keep going. I'm really sure that some people, I can talk about my experience. When we moved from Brazil, there was some really a why to be here that made us bear many things, and we're still doing, right? Because we have each one of us, we have this why. When with the why is really strong enough, pretty sure the how will be more easy to do, or maybe not easy, but challenging, but we can overcome, right? So how we should do this, and I'm almost like finishing here, but think about this. So when we say facing the suffering, we should rediscover the meaning of this pain, right? What is this purpose in life? Regardless any situation that we're suffering is induced by internal or external factors, but really, what is the meaning? Trying to find a meaning to cope and find your how to go through that. Then also the main way to deal with suffering, I think, is to not deny or ignore it. It's there. Like I said, it's real. If you're going through something very difficult and painful, it's part of the game. It's suffer, it's a process. You can't deny it, or you can't really just ignore it and say, no, I'm going to be happy, just play the happy game. No, it's really more deep than that. And also creating like coping strategies. How are you going to cope with the suffering? Being really by yourself, isolated, is not going to help. You need to find ways to cope, to be with people that can add to you, they can support you. So we need to really find that. And discovering really the meaning of the pain in order to see the situation from other perspectives, really. Imagine these people in the concentrate camp, which they didn't eat, just saving their food for somebody else. How really, what a strong free will, right? What is strong free will, really? I think that's amazing when you see people going through suffering, and you see people going through these tragedies like earthquakes and hurricanes, and you see people there, they lost everything, and they are just there helping other people. You see people, they had injuries, physical, permanent injuries, and they are there. There's this Olympic game is happening right now, right? All these athletes. And I heard something very beautiful the other day, that on the regular Olympic Games, heroes are made. But in the Paralympic Games, the heroes go to the games. That's how they decided what they're going to do with this suffering. So just really to see, and there'll be a process for them. I believe when we hear these stories, we don't see all the suffering and the crying and the yelling and all these overcoming situations, the difficult days. But at the end, that's what they did. They found the how, the why to do the how. And really take these new attitudes in the face of suffering, really choosing and thinking and really thinking about love. And to end our study, I like to quote, and then I'm going to finish. I like to tell you guys this quote from this American writer. He died in 1960. He was a teacher and a leader. He was creator of this movement called the Science of Mind. And so I want to share with you because I think it's super beautiful what he says about love. He says that love is within us. It cannot be destroyed. It can be ignored. To the extent that we abandon love, we will feel it has abandoned us. Denying love is our only problem, and embracing it is the only answer. Through the power of love, we can let go of past history and begin again. Love heals, forgives, and makes us whole. Ernest Holmes. This is what I really believe about going through difficult pain and suffering, but searching something within us and trying to find ways to cope and learning and becoming a better person. We are going to go through pain, but the suffering will be with a different, will be more really an awakening than why it's happening to me and what I'm going to do with that. That's really what I'm trying to take from this study. And we don't do this alone. We have our friends, spiritual friends. We have Jesus. We have all this beautiful doctrine that has a lot of materials for us to read and learn and be inspired by. Thank you so much for your attention, and I really appreciate being here today. Thank you.
Thank you, Stella. We are the one who thank you so much for you to be with us, and you brought so many wonderful points about choosing love. All you need is love, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
I really appreciate it because a lot of us are suffering immensely these days. And that's one of the reasons I'm so thankful for our doctrine. As you quote, so many people, so many spirits, so many books are available to educate us. When I look back in my life, I had so much unnecessary suffering because I just didn't know. I didn't know about the divine laws. I didn't even know Jesus was my brother. I didn't know that God is such a source of immense love for us. So when I started studying Spiritism, I started understanding the laws. I understood the purpose, what was happening. And I was, just as you said, I was shocked to say, oh my God, I'm the one creating all that. It was a shift in responsibility and gave me that sense of consolation. Wow, I can learn it to choose.
Yeah.
So for me today, is when I choose and I make a choice according to the divine laws, I immediately feel the immense love and mercifulness of our Father, because everything is orchestrated to protect us and to love us. And that helped me to undergo so my trials in a different perspective. So I appreciate so much all the points you brought it up, because align and reinforce those choices, because we are witnessing very hardship trials, so many of us. And it's wonderful when the people that get educated about the divine laws, they go through that hardship trials, never feeling they are alone. They feel the trust and the love that God provides every moment. So it's very important. Unnecessary love, unnecessary suffering can be finished, and we face our difficult trials with the certainty that our Father provides the love. And you said something also important that I would like to remind us. We don't need to be alone anymore, right? We have our friends, we have our studies, we have Jesus. There are so many opportunities when we open our mind and our heart. God provides all the resource for help that we need, all the hand, the loving hand, right? So
Exactly.
we thank you so much. You took a little time of your morning to be here and share this wonderful study with us. Thank you. Could we ask you to do a final prayer for us? We'd
Yeah.
appreciate that very much.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Yes. Yes. Oh my gosh. It's just with this thankful heart that humbly I come to you. Jesus, like you said, He's our brother, our friend, and He came here to show us it's possible. It's possible. We need to remember and really be in His love, His example of love, and trust that nothing happens without God's permission. This is we are living in a cosmos, not a chaos. This is not a chaos. There's a purpose and there's an intelligence force behind all these sufferings. So I ask Jesus and all our friends, spiritual friends, to empower and encourage and lift up all those who are going through sufferings, our hearts, that we know what bothers us. I ask God to really to be in our hearts, remind us that we are all brothers and sisters, and we one of us suffer. It's a suffering really for everybody, but at the same time we are always we are also connected. So this love that it is within us, we ask for God to really make us aware, to spread this love and give support to one another to go through these difficult times. And may this love reach everyone in the planet. We really need to send out this love to each other so we can bear all the challenges, all these difficult times, and really be aware that we are part of the change. If you want to see a better planet, we need to work in ourselves. So please, Jesus, stay with us, empower us, give us courage to embrace these changes, to give us courage to change the things that we can change, and to really empower others and inspire others as they inspire us, and to be thankful to all these spirits that came before us and led the path, and also left all this knowledge through books and their lives. It's possible to do it. And so help us, God, to realize this with much peace and love. So be it.
Thank you so much, Stella.
Thank
Feel
you.
our hug.
Hug.
Our love to all our friends in KSF. We are so thankful you're here with us today.
Thank you so much. Have a beautiful day. Thank you for everyone that was here. And I really wish you all, peace, much peace today and always, every day. Have a beautiful week.
Thank you. Thank you very much, dear friends, for being with us here. And remind everyone, we have our study groups every morning before this reunion here, 9:30. We study in the Genesis. And I wish you, everybody, a great week, and see you next time.